question is, what are you guys hearing about innovations in the future? Uber helicopters that land a little farther away, places where you can actually have a business center or sleep not on the floor without checking into the hotel. Like all those things, because we're asked as architects to think about, predict where the trends are, and I'm wondering, you guys must be on top of the finger on the pulse. That's my question.
So airports, in some cases, have always had reputations of either post 1990 era, we became shopping malls that airplanes flew into because we were all chasing, obviously, non-airline revenue for the purposes that I mentioned before about trying to maintain our attractiveness to carriers. And in some cases, we're actually construction sites that airplanes fly into. Probably more the latter these days, and that ongoing effort to chase providing what everybody in our business now just refers to as the guest experience. And I can't pick up a single aviation-related periodical ever these days where there's not at least a section that is dedicated to the guest experience. What are people looking for? Everything you've said, whether it's the ability to take a snooze somewhere, where you want to eat, you want to get a massage, you want to get your nails done, you want to go into a yoga room, you want to have a meditation, whatever it is. And what we tried to do in our master plan visioning effort was to realize on a gap inventory, where were we missing the mark through listening to our passengers? What can we realistically put back into our facility that they're looking for?
I'll add a few things real quick. The aviation before was not stressful. You would show up to the airport, and oftentimes a lot of the stores and restaurants were before security, right? We know what changed that. Now aviation and getting to the airport is just very stressful, and so everyone shows up early, they go through security checkpoints, and now they have more time than ever, and thank God they buy things, right? It helps us in the long run. But I think we're gonna go back to what it was before with technology, and I know some of you cringed with the use of technology to verify that you're a safe person, right? That you don't have anything at risk. But that is the future. There will be options for you tonight be able to use biometrics if you want to, but you'll find that this generation will demand that the reconfiguration and the use of technology will facilitate your travel. So which means that then you'll go back to the days of not being a stressful beginning of your journey, but rather part of your journey.
That's great.
And NDAD for an Opa-Locka for almost 33 years now. We don't get the limelight and the attention of the international airports, Miami International, Florida International. So how do you intend to support and grow your smaller fields? And specifically, flight training, which is where I am and several of the people here are, there's 5 university programs and 22 131 flight schools in South Florida. It's a big training center. Are either of you gutsy enough and have the grit to reopen Opa-Locka West?
Here's the interesting thing is that for years, the general aviation airports, and we have 4 of them in MIA, were a drain on our finances. And through the continued growth of the aviation industry, we now have a basically built out completely Opa-Locka. So Opa-Locka is successful and it's profitable, and to the delight of everyone involved, including our large carriers at MIA. The next jewel is going to be Tamiami. I will always call it Tamiami, although it's called Miami Executive. That airport, there's a significant amount of interest in the development of that airport. So we're gonna fully develop that airport. We'll probably do solicitations for all the land that's available this year. So by the time next year rolls around, all of the available properties will be under contract and under some type of development deal. Then we have a dilemma. The dilemma is going to be where do we go next? Because Homestead General is not big enough. Do we go to Homestead Air Force Base, which is we want to have a joint use operation, or do we do something with Opa-Locka West? We don't know what is going to happen.
Lately, we've heard about the woes that Boeing has had. They actually halted production this year. They used to produce about 52 planes a month, and this year they're actually kind of completely stopped that production. We bank at Bank United several companies, including some of Boeing suppliers. Recently, one of their suppliers last month actually laid off some people in Miami. What kind of, and also this morning I heard that a New York Fed analyst is anticipating that there could be about as much as 20% impact on the US GDP from the halting production from Boeing. What are you seeing from your side of the equation, and what kind of impact do you anticipate specifically in Miami and Fort Lauderdale market?
So I think this is undoubtedly the biggest crisis that Boeing has faced in their company's history, bigger than any recession period or anything along those lines. And they've been a cornerstone in how we move around the world now forever. We're significantly impacted to the degree of one of our major partners, Southwest Airlines, is the largest user of the 737 MAX, and not only has about 35 of them parked out in the desert, but had additional ones that were scheduled to roll off the line. We keep in regular contact with leadership at Southwest. We've seen some flight reductions in our facility as a result of them trying to accommodate schedule. They've held off on retiring certain airplanes in order to keep things moving along. To Lester's point, you know, even when there can be some level of conclusion as to is the airplane fixed in terms of the MCAS or the elimination of the MCAS, there's a huge public relations issue that needs to be undertaken, and how long will it take for people to feel safe in that airplane? Who's going to fly in that airplane? Locally, we've had some of our commissioners who have said, we don't want that airplane in our facility, and we've had other commissioners that said, hey, FAA administrator, bring the airplane here. I'll get on the very first flight, in order to restore consumer confidence. It's impactful, and I think it's probably going to take, my subjective personal opinion is it's going to take a couple of years at least, even if there's a resolution by middle of this year, which I'm not sure will happen. I think it's going to take a couple of years for this to actually get by us.